Hi, Nigel here with the Drive Wire, and this is the 2022 Lexus NX 450h Plus plug-in hybrid, and it's the most technologically advanced, the quickest, and at $56,635 to start, the most expensive NX available on the market. So it's based on the RAV4 Prime, which is an absolute riot to drive, and it's the best car to have if you absolutely need to be at soccer practice on time. Now, the 450h has a EV-only range of 37 miles. It's pretty good. It's a little bit less than the RAV4 Prime, which has 42 miles of range, and it absolutely demolishes the competition from both Audi and Volvo, which can manage only 23 and 18 miles of EV range respectively. So this has already got those two cars beat. And typically you can charge these at home. This one comes standard with a 3.3 kilowatt charger, and at 240 volts takes around 4.5 hours to charge. So just plug it in at night and go. Now you can get for $800 a 6.6 kilowatt charger. I don't think it's worth it. It drops that time to 2.5 hours, but here's the thing, if you're already in bed and asleep, and who cares, it's going to be charged in the morning for you anyway, so save that $800. So to me, it's got that slightly sort of Mazda look to it. It's a small, compact crossover, but it has plenty of room inside. And looks-wise, they've sort of angled it down a little bit more. The old one was very sort of like sharp edges and creases, and this one's got a little bit more soft edge to it. A little bit more boring, but I think it still looks pretty good. So at the front you get the huge Lexus grille, big L. This is the only Lexus badge on the car. I'll show you the back in a second, but this is definitely in your face. Got a couple of sort of real air intakes here, which is something the Toyota Supra couldn't manage to do. And then these really cool adaptive LED headlights, sort of a weird little splitter here on both sides, but I think it looks pretty aggressive, and I actually really like this sort of burnt orange color as well. So quick walk around. I think it looks pretty good. It's sort of short and stubby looking. It's quite tall. Feels kind of tall when you're sitting in it. You get a pretty high commanding position. So at the back, I actually like the look of it better than I do at the front. I really like this new horizontal light bar at the back, and then this is a common theme. Lexus, instead of the L badge at the back, they just write it out. Manufacturers are doing this a lot. VW does it. Quite a few others do it as well. One thing I don't like is the way they put this badge on here. NX 450h Plus is fine, but why put an all-wheel drive badge? It looks misplaced. It's just been dropped below. It's kind of messy, obviously, because it's a Prime Plus or Prime or whatever you want to call it, an H Plus. It's going to have all-wheel drive. It's unnecessary to put that on there. But anyway, small things. But what I do like is that they haven't tried to create fake exhaust outlets. They're just covered up, and then underneath, way under the bumper, is a small tailpipe. All right, so in the back in this model, you get a powered tailgate, and then with the seats up, you get about 22.7 cubic feet of space and a luggage cover. But unlike in the NX 250 and 350, you get the limited space underneath here because you got battery components, etc. So this really just houses your standard 110 volt charger, which I'm not sure how long it takes to charge. A couple of tie downs. The seats do fold flat to give you additional space, and there's a little bit of a space there with a little net to hold things in place. It's all beautifully made. So under the hood it gets a little complicated. There's a 2.5 litre 4-cylinder naturally aspirated engine with double overhead camshafts. Has 181 horsepower. And then there's a rear electric motor with 53 horsepower, a front electric motor with 179 horsepower, and then using fuzzy hybrid math, you get a combined output of 302 horsepower, which is pretty good. Now, this is driven through a CVT transmission, and Toyota say it'll get from 0 to 60 in 6 seconds, although some independent testing has got it there in about 5.5, which is on a par with what the RAV4 did. Now this weighs a little bit more than the RAV4. In fact, it weighs 4,444 pounds. Almost seems like they did it on purpose. Of course, with the combined electric motors, this gets really good gas mileage. In fact, you probably wouldn't use any gas if you only used the electric portion. If you did a commute that was 37 miles or less every day, you'd probably never fill this car up. But if you do go on longer trips, expect on a highway to get better than 45 miles to the gallon, which is pretty good because these days, $5 a gallon, it's getting a little bit expensive. That niceness carries its way over into the back here. This one's got the leather seats. They're very comfortable, pretty supportive, and you get some air vents, which is nice. Some power. You got the old 12 volt here, and then 2 regular USBs, as well as a couple of cup holders in the armrest. It's all Lexus quality. It's really nice. There's plenty of leg room in this one. Maybe headroom is a little bit at a premium, but it's not too bad. The seat's in my position for driving, so I've got a decent amount of room in here. It's not a huge car, but it's definitely got the luxury that you're looking for and expect with a Lexus. So the charger's right here on this side. Obviously fuel fillers on the other side. You shouldn't have to use that too often. Simply plug in, charge, and go. So here inside the car, especially in the front, it is all new. So gone are many of the quirks that the Lexus NX used to have. The new infotainment screen is pulled directly from Toyota. It works great. The new center console works. I haven't found anything bad really about this car, except for maybe a couple of things which we will go into later on. Now these seats are super comfortable, as I said, all leather on this particular model with multi-way power, heated seats, cooled seats, lumbar support, memory seats, and of course a heated steering wheel, which is controlled from the central screen. I like it. And then this wheel feels great. It's nice and small, but not too small, and it just feels really good in your hands. So far, the interior, very impressed. Of course, the material quality and the details, it's a Lexus. How are you going to go wrong? We've seen the new infotainment screen in the new Toyota Tundra, and it's now been passed through to this Lexus NX. I do like the fact that it is angled towards the driver. I really like these AC controls, although when they're off and not lit up, I have accidentally tried to turn the car on by pushing one of these. Now, one of the things that they have done is they've relocated the Eco, Normal, and Sport control down to here, where previously it was on the side of here together with traction control. It was a weird placement of those 2 knobs. I think it's better where it is right there. And then the next one down is music. Super easy navigation system here. You've got your favorites here. You can go ahead and look at, FM. You can check your different sources. You can go back and go to Sirius XM, and then, okay, so how do I tune it? Well, you go back to music, hit tune, and then you can tune your FM stations, the available ones. You can tune your AM ones, and then Sirius XM. I have it currently set to channel 33 first wave. So really super easy to use. And then sources you can switch. This is my phone called Bollocks. Apple Music or Amazon Music is also available in this system. I love it. It's really easy to use. The phone is equally easy, super fast to pair. I haven't added this to my contacts because it's not my car, so I don't bother. Car information. This kind of shows you where the power is going to and from. We're currently not moving, but it'll show you different blue and yellow lines as to where the power is going to, whether it's coming from the battery, which is here, or from the engine. Super cool graphics. And then settings, you can go in here and you can go into general settings and you can change your keyboard, date and time, Wi-Fi, how your display looks, sound and media, your nav, vehicle customize, driving assist, voice search, etc. You can do pretty much anything you want to do. And you can also set up a profile. I haven't in this particular car, it's not mine, but you can go ahead and do a manual setup, and you can set up your own profile, so when you get into the car it knows exactly who you are. After that, just above these knobs that I explained earlier, you've got your heated steering wheel, heated seats, cooled seats, airflow, and then climate. You just hit climate and you can decide if you want to do concierge, air only to the occupied seats, which saves gas and electrons. And then you can go into eco, heat and cool. A day like today where it's not too hot, it's probably worth doing something like that. And then to the left, where these vents are, there's the park assist system if you can't park, which many people can't. And then you hit view. This is the coolest feature. It does a 360-degree view around the car, and then it does a overhead view as to where your car is. I really like that. So speaking of storage space, one thing I do really like, there's a little bit of storage space here, but then this is the Wi-Fi charger, and if you just open that up, you get some space in there for stuff, and you also get a 12 volt, and then you simply push it and it closes. And the good part of that is you can put your phone on there, push that in, and it continues to charge while you're taking your stuff in and out. I really like that. And further down here you've got two decent size cup holders. Now the shifter is new and it's slightly weird. You almost follow like a manual pattern. So reverse is sort of left and up, neutral off to the right, which you never need anyway, and then down and then to the left is D. S I haven't used, it's got paddle shifters, a waste of space on this car. I'll admit it right now, I've spent the first 2 days, actually I'm going to spend most of the time in eco mode. Sport mode is kind of an okay idea, but this is a luxury crossover. It's not a sports car, and when you have it in eco mode, it uses more torque and less of the noisy Atkinson-cycle 4-cylinder engine, which at the upper reaches gets a little boomy. And right here you got a little bit of an array of buttons. There's your hold button, this is your park assist, this is your button for if you want to go into the trees on rough road. It is all-wheel drive. I wouldn't suggest tackling anything too crazy. Traction control off. It's probably not going to make a lot of difference because it's all-wheel drive. Now, these two are the interesting ones. You've got auto, EV, HV, so that's electric vehicle or hybrid vehicle, and it decides what it wants you to do. Now, when you start the vehicle, normally in the morning, or whenever you start the vehicle, it starts in pure EV mode, unless you don't have any EV miles left. So remember, we've got 37 miles of EV range. If you put it in HV, EV in sort of with those weird arrows, that holds the charge. So if you currently have, like I currently have 12 miles of charge right here in the center dash and 294 miles of, let's say hybrid vehicle, but they mean sort of gas mileage combined. If I want to preserve that 12 miles because I'm out in the middle of nowhere, I can press that button that we mentioned before here, and that's going to hold that 12 miles or so. It's probably going to charge a little bit if I go downhill. I might lose 1 or 2 miles if I go uphill, but it's going to preserve it. And then in the center armrest, you can, first of all, access it from the passenger side, which is nice. Put stuff in there. It's pretty deep. It's got plenty of room inside it. And do the same thing from the driver's side to stow stuff away. It just works great. All right, well, how does this thing drive? Well, let's go and take a look. So, we're ready to go. We're in HV mode. Simply move the lever down here into D, and off we go. So the first thing that you do notice, this rides on 20-inch wheels, which in the old days would have meant horrible, not composed ride. This thing rides beautifully. It's a Lexus, of course. Now they are Bridgestones, and they're not low profile, so they're extremely comfortable. Second thing you notice is this thing is quick. It's It's like the RAV4 Prime. It's the same powertrain, same transmission. The RAV4 was an absolute hoot to drive, and so is this. 0 to 60 is definitely less than 6 seconds. So put your foot down, the nose lifts. Definitely hear the 4-cylinder kick in, but it's not a bad noise. Now, one pet peeve, and I think all manufacturers seem to do this, is this sensor right here on the windshield is always made of this hard plastic, and they always, over time, make a rattling noise. You might be able to hear it. Now, this car's only done 686 miles. I've probably done 180 of those, and it shouldn't be rattling already. Everything else is beautifully put together, but this thing, on every car that I've driven, the rain sensor and whatever other systems it has, is this crappy piece of hard plastic. So come on, manufacturers, make that not happen. But other than that, I absolutely love this car. And the other thing about it is it's got the power that you want. You stick your foot down. I'm going uphill right now, so the engine's working harder than the battery is, but there's plenty of torque, there's plenty of power. Biggest thing I like about this car is it handles so nicely. It feels heavy. 4,444 pounds is not a lightweight. It feels bigger than it really is, in terms of it doesn't feel super light, but the steering has the right amount of heft. The handling is really good. It rolls. I mean, it's gonna roll, but it's very nice. It's very planted on the road. I mean, I'm doing speeds that the average Lexus NX driver might not want to do, but this car can handle it. It's so much better than the old NX. In fact, the only thing that I like about the old NX over this one is I think the old NX looks better. It just looks better. This one has got some rounded edges. I think it looks like a Mazda now, but that doesn't really matter. I'm spending most of my time on the inside, and they've done a beautiful job with that. But yeah, this thing is pretty poised on twisty roads. Stick your foot down. This thing goes. Gets up to speed really quickly. Brakes are good too. Most hybrid brakes are somewhat janky, with not too much pedal feel. You don't feel particularly secure with those. But these are good. And when the engine is not like up in its upper reaches of rev range, it's very serene, it's very quiet. Apart from that noise there. I have to say, this is one of my favorite crossovers. It really is. And mainly because it's quick. If it was the regular 200 whatever horsepower engine, maybe not. Now you can get this one as a 350 version, which has the new 275 horsepower Turbo 4. I haven't driven that. How nice would it be if this one had that 275 horsepower Turbo 4 and the 2 electric motors, giving it close to 400 horsepower. That's what they probably should do in the F Sport version of this. I don't really see the point in buying this one. I mean, this is the top of the range, except you can add the F Sport version to it with the suspension. I think this handles just fine with the power that it has. It doesn't need the F Sport. But if the F Sport was a real F Sport, it needs to have that additional power. That would be a fun car. God, this thing is good and so quick for what it is. Wow. does shove you in the back when you stick your foot down. Just like with the RAV4, when I had that one, my wish was that that powertrain combo would find its way into more Toyota Lexus vehicles, and it's perfect in this NX. I really can't say enough good about this car. Let's just pull over real quick. And let you know what we think. Wow, I love it. It's a great car to be driving around in for a week. Again, super comfortable, super quiet, super efficient. It'll be one of the few cars that I drive for a week where I probably won't have to put any gas in it, which at this time is kind of nice. Anyway, once again, thanks for watching. If you can find one of these, take it for a test drive. It's a freaking hoot to drive. Anyway, we'll catch you next time. Please like and subscribe, and out.